in the air. Okay. All right, welcome everybody. We'll call the May 28, 2025 Executive Board meeting to order. It's 3:31 p.m. I guess I was looking the other day. I think we should approve the agenda. Is that right, Nancy? We need to approve the agenda each meeting.
You should at least go over it, and I
Yeah.
sent you a text. I don't know if you saw it just recently about
Okay, I didn't see that.
just to suggest, sorry, it was just a few minutes ago, suggesting that we add in
Okay.
an agenda, discussing the agenda for the June membership meeting.
Today's agenda discussion of June. Okay, right. Agenda. Yeah. I did have that on my mind. Okay. All right, we'll put, yeah, that was under future meetings and discussion. So
Okay.
kind of a catch-all. So everybody have a chance to review the agenda for today? Any amendments or changes to that? If not, then I'll move to approve the agenda.
Yeah, you can just say it's approved.
It's approved. Okay. Okay, conflict of interest question. We'll just go down the line. So no conflict for me. Gary,
I have no conflict.
Chris, and Nancy,
No conflict.
No conflict.
and Rand.
No conflict.
Okay. And hi, Tom.
Hello.
Okay. All right. The April 23rd, 2025 meeting minutes and approval of those. Gary sent that out. It was either yesterday or Monday. Did folks have a chance to review that? And
Yes.
Are there any changes or?
No changes for me.
Great.
Okay, me either.
I just had Susan Schomburg's name
I,
changed. And Gary got it, I think.
Okay.
yeah, I got it. Now I'll have the new corrected version put in.
Okay.
One thing I did forget was the special executive board meeting that we had April 26th. I was going to get those meeting minutes set up for this meeting, and I just didn't have time. So maybe we can get this next time.
Sure.
Okay, Gary, thanks. Okay, on to bylaws subcommittee check-in. Nancy.
Okay, so we have our special meeting to adopt the bylaws and bylaws amendments and adopt the new policies, procedures, and references on this Saturday at 1:30. My main concern is going to be quorum, so I hope everybody can come. Bring your spouses, as any significant friends, others who are members. I'm based on the feedback sessions. Everything has been positive. We haven't had any real suggestions for change. Sarah's very positive. You guys were really positive. So we're not expecting the 4-hour meeting like we had last year with the bylaws. So we're just planning. I drafted an agenda for Mark to look at for the membership meeting. Do you want me to just put that up real fast?
Sure, that'd be great.
So So basically, we're looking again at doing a parliamentary procedures training at 1 o'clock that looks like Michael will be able to do. After all, he won't be at the meeting, but can do the training. I don't know if anyone will come. Last year, we had quite a few and we needed it. And then it's Mark's meeting, right? So he'll call the meeting to order with introductions, review the agenda. And then I assume, Mark, you'll just turn it over to us at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll go through what the process was briefly, do a brief presentation on an overview. And if there are people there that want to dive down into it, then we'll do that. But I'm kind of thinking most people will hopefully have already seen everything. So we'll be prepared for whichever. But after we've gone through what we've done, then we'll have motions to approve the bylaws amendments and then motion to approve the policies, procedures, and references. So Gary, I thought if it'd be okay with you, I'll go in and write some poll questions that would be around that. But basically, the first one would be around approving the bylaws amendments as presented with caveats like editorial changes being allowed and that kind of thing. And then a similar motion of bylaws amendments as amended in case we have any amendments. And then the same for policies, procedures, and references. One is presented and one is amended. And then some blank polls in case we get any amendments. We can actually write those into whatever document people are proposing amending. But we can have a poll question, a series of them that are just move to approve the amendment as presented or move to, vote on the amendment. And if we have, last year we actually got amendments to amendments to amendments, so I'll prepare
Mhm.
just a few of those. But so Gary, you're going to be there, right?
Well, I was going to ask you, are you planning to, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
You're frozen video, but we can hear you.
So are you planning to go ahead and log in and start the meeting at 1 o'clock for the training session?
Yes.
Okay, so I probably will, I'll be at the 1:30 then.
Okay. So do you want me to log in as host then, and then that way I can run the polls
Well,
also?
you can give that a try. I'm a little concerned about then, even if I click on participant and come into the meeting, it may take over and you not be able to run the polls. I don't know. We'll
It
see how
may, but
that
you'll
goes.
be
If
prepared,
that's the case, then I can do it anyway for you. But we just need to be prepared about what Zoom might
right?
do.
Right. And I think if you'd prefer to just run the polls, we could do it that way too. And I can start it, and then when you log in at around 1:30, you could take over as host because it looks like it gives you that option now to take over. So as long as you're logged in as host on the website where the polling questions are, right, then you can run the poll. Well, you can make any changes. That's the issue, is making changes to the questions. But I'm hoping to have enough generic poll questions that it should be okay. And maybe Gary, you and I could meet on Thursday or Friday to just go over the questions and see that you're comfortable with them.
Okay.
And then either one of us, whichever one of us is granted permission, will be prepared to
Yeah.
do it.
All right.
So again, our biggest issue is quorum. Only 3 of our subcommittee members are going to be able to be there, Tom and Wyatt and me. Susan's going to be in the air, and Michael's going to be playing piano at a funeral, at a memorial service, so he won't be able to attend the meeting itself. But otherwise, we're expecting it to go smoothly. So far, everything's been good. I did want to update the board, though, with a few things that have occurred and have changed with the PP&R and the bylaws since we had our feedback session, and just make sure you're comfortable. I've talked with certain people individually, but I just want to make sure you're comfortable. So one is we were struggling over what to do about the monitoring task force and making sure that it had a chair. And, we're already kind of having issues with finding key positions, but getting that going. And we were also thinking, it would really help at membership meetings to have programs about things. And the monitoring task force could be actually a really good source of programs as we hear about different things that are happening in the community that might be good for the membership and could increase attendance to our meetings. And we didn't have really anyone charged with that. So with Mark's concurrence, and Alex was quite enthusiastic about it, we proposed having the vice president take over the chairpersonship of the monitoring task force, kind of like the secretary is in charge of the communications task force, and then also be responsible for programs for the membership meetings. So I think I've talked with a number of you about that, but it may be new to, like, I don't think I talked with Chris, and I think the rest of you were at a feedback session or a meeting and heard about it. But so far, that's been. Alex is really enthusiastic about it. He thought that sounded great. But any comments about that? Okay, and then another thing that Gary, I didn't talk with you about, but we realized with this, with our current bylaws, we didn't have anything in place in case we have the situation we have right now where there's nobody running for an office. We have had stuff about vacancies for a midterm vacancy, what we do, but we didn't have anything about what do we do if there's nobody elected at the April election meeting. So we put in some wording for that, and I can go over that with you if you'd like, but it's basically that we wait until the June meeting or a special meeting to elect somebody when we get one or more candidates. If we don't have anybody by the June meeting, then it goes to the executive board for the July meeting, and that the person currently in the office would be continuing in the office until the July executive board meeting, unless they want to resign. There's always resign, but that they would stay in the office till the July executive board meeting, at which time a vacancy would be called if there were no candidates. So it basically gets us through that gap period, and then it would go into the normal vacancy thing where there are two options. One is that the executive board, the chair and the executive board could appoint somebody or group of people, somebody to take over temporarily in that position, or divide the responsibilities among existing executive board members. So that's kind of how we are proposing that. Does anyone have any comments on that?
So Nancy, that'll be the June 20, whatever, 6th, 7th, whatever that week. Like, I don't know the exact date. That's at that executive board meeting. That's when we're right? Or did you say July?
We're saying July.
July.
I mean,
Okay.
it could
Okay.
happen in June. It's just
Okay.
the term of office ends July 30 or June 30th.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So even though we had set the
Yeah.
election meeting for April, which is
Mhm.
good because it sets us up for
Mhm.
this,
Mhm.
the person's actually in office. The current board is
Mhm.
in office till June 30th. So
Okay.
we were saying if at the end of June 30th we don't have, at that point, a new board takes over, and some of the
Mhm.
members continue, right? But it's still a new
Mhm.
board. And so at the July there's this gap of what do we do in that period of time. And so
Mhm.
it'll, by having the July executive board meeting, it gives some continuity, and hopefully we will have
Mhm.
figured out what to do by then. But if not, it goes
Mhm.
into the normal vacancy rules that are already in the bylaws. Actually,
Mhm.
we expanded on them. So before in the bylaws, we just had how you elect somebody midterm, but this
Okay.
actually says
Mhm.
what happens to the duties in that meantime. So we've tried to strengthen that.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, hopefully none of this will happen. Hopefully we will have a secretary for the June membership meeting. So,
Mhm.
but it does cover these issues. And so those are actually bylaws amendments. So in our meeting packet now for the May meeting is all the final documents that we met our 10-day period, and thank you, Gary and Candace, for getting the emails out and getting everything up on the website. But we have our proposed bylaws amendments and our proposed policies, procedures, and references documents in there in the meeting packet, including redlined versions showing the changes for the policies or for the bylaws. The PPNR is a new document, so no changes. We've also briefed Sarah. She's sees no problems at all, very impressed. So I think so far all the feedback's good. She was going to be sending everything to the county attorney, and we haven't heard anything back yet. But we're hoping that we can get their concurrence by Friday. If not, the motion will also include, like it did last year, any final comments from the county. And I think that's it for the June membership meeting. The bylaws subcommittee is up for re-election. or election. And so I guess we need to have a notice out at some point to let people know they can apply. And I believe, from what I understand, our entire subcommittee is going to be reapplying to return next year in anticipation of a much lighter year of, we've been going full bore for the last 2 years, and we're looking forward to doing a few tweaks here and there, but nothing major. And
Is it just bylaws, Nancy, or is it?
I think so, because we're the only
o-
standing subcommittee. So the community
Okay.
plan subcommittee is
Yeah.
an ad hoc. And so I
Okay.
think they just continue until they're done. We didn't really put in procedures for what you do with an ad hoc subcommittee that can go over several
Mm.
years, but typically I think they wouldn't
Mhm.
be in
Mhm.
that position. So I don't know. Do you guys have any thoughts on whether we should put anything in place next year, not this year, but for multiple years, ad hoc subcommittees that have a final, they're done. Task forces, the executive board has responsibility for. So task force members are appointed by the executive
Mhm.
executive board, as well as the task force chair.
Mm.
So at this point, the only task force that has its own chair is outreach, because monitoring and communications now, if all this is approved on Saturday, report to their respective officer.
Yeah, I can't remember where community plan subcommittee, were they voted on by the membership? I don't remember
Yeah,
that.
I
I think
I
they
think they
were.
were. I think they were when it was first set up.
Uh-huh.
Do you remember, Ran? Was the committee ever elected? I know Tom was added later. I don't remember that being an
I
election.
was voted in later.
Okay,
And I'm not trying to make waves at all. I'm just looking procedurally. That's all. I'm just
right.
trying to be consistent. I don't,
I'm
you
pretty
know,
sure they were elected
yeah.
back when they were first formed.
Uh-huh.
And I did ask the question a few months, I guess it was last year, were they going to be reelected? Because they had already been elected, but they'd only been elected fairly recently. So
Yeah, right.
they weren't reelected when we were last year, and it was kind of considered an ad hoc thing that would be short term. So,
Yeah.
and then they had all these things come up like FEMA and middle housing that took them off track,
Yeah,
that were
right, right,
important things. But so,
right.
they're likely to finish up hopefully by the end of the year, the calendar year. So it's something
Yeah.
we can tackle next year if we think we
Yep.
should
Okay.
add in some things about ad hoc subcommittees.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't see the point now in terms of adding, having them go for reelection when they're right in the middle of everything. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you have any thoughts
No.
on that, Rand?
Yeah, I think kind of well, I assume we're in it till we're done with it. Or we might lose a committee. You'll have to start all over.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Yeah.
I know.
You better hold on to them while you can.
Yeah. So
I'm
I
trying to
guess,
think even,
yeah,
Tom,
yeah.
do you remember, Tom, if we even say with ad hoc subcommittees that they stay in place till they're done? It's in the,
I believe that when we had the discussion about task forces,
Uh-huh.
we did briefly touch on ad hocs they have a job, rather like task forces. When their job's done, they're done.
Right.
yeah.
So there isn't any need for reinstating them.
Yeah. So I think we're good.
Okay. So I guess maybe I'll try and point that out at the membership meeting, June 14th, because somebody may have a question about that, or they may not, but the ad hoc, I don't know that many members would remember that
Right.
they were an ad hoc. I didn't even remember it. And so that makes a difference. And so,
And the only question would be if there's someone who wanted to join it.
Right.
yeah, right.
And I suppose they could. That's something we should probably think about ahead of time, is like Tom was
Uh-huh.
added. would
Yeah.
would
Yeah.
that be a problem to have someone join it? And, people could still participate, they can still go, they can still be at the feedback sessions, they can still write in information without being part of the committee.
I think I was drafted, not added, but anyway.
Yeah, I think you were too.
Yeah.
You're a
Yeah.
high draft pick, Tom.
Yeah, you were. Yeah, okay, all right.
I guess I can stop sharing. But anyway, we also added the notice on voting to the bottom of the agenda for the May 31st meeting. So, and it's slightly reworded in here, that we also reworded the policies and procedures. So it goes into the honor system stuff. So that's all I have on that stuff.
Okay.
Do those changes, any objections to those changes going forward? Okay. And please, if you can, review those documents that are in the file. They're not that horribly long, and let us know if you have any concerns. Gary or Chris, I didn't get to the forms for the treasurer's duties yet, so that'll be a next year thing. But for the treasurer's reports, we have that as a placeholder.
Okay.
But if you have your own, feel free to send them to us and we'll add them next year. Thank you. Thank you. I know I promised them to you, so. Okay, that's the end of my report unless Tom has anything he'd like to add, since he's a vital member of our committee and our editor.
I wish to add nothing.
Okay.
All right, so, okay, that's the bylaws, I think. Yeah, okay. I may have a couple of questions, Nancy, for you that you and I can talk about for the course of the week before we get
Okay.
to Saturday, but
Okay.
we'll take time now. So, and it's procedurally stuff, so not,
Mhm.
um,
Yeah, the motions would be something
yeah.
you would run. Yeah.
Yep, yep.
I would make them on behalf of the
Okay.
subcommittee, but then
Yep.
you will run them in terms of
Yep.
discussion and
Yep.
all that.
Yep. Okay. Okay, let's see, community plan steering subcommittee check-in, Rand.
Yeah, so we are to the point where we are, this sounds familiar, reviewing the document for any gaps in things that are stated but not backed up with, fleshed out somewhere else. So if we refer to them, then we have to make sure there's something later in the document that articulates that. So we're going piece by piece. I think Tom, there are about 32 gaps that he noticed. And so some of those responsibilities were taken on at the end of the meeting the other day. We've had 2 meetings that were 3 hours each. Most of those a battle about what the schedule is and how soon we're aiming to finish, and debates about that. So luckily we got to some substance at the end, not that scheduling isn't important, but we actually got some assignments at the end. And Lori and Guy had taken on that. Lori's already taken on a number of assignments. I'm kind of the lone wolf out here throwing a sentence here and there, but we have about another 15 or 20 that we have to go over. And our target is that we have all our changes to Tom, and he's going to rework those by June 9th. And then we will be, our next meeting after getting everything to Tom will be to focus on 2 subjects from our review that we want feedback from the public on. So we'll be setting up those subjects for the June 21st meeting at June 14. And then we'll have the June 21st meeting with feedback. After that, depending on what the feedback is, we will have continue to work on the draft. And by August 9th, provide a draft to the public on August 9th. Is that a meeting, that's your meeting, NCAC meeting, is that correct?
When's that? Ran the August
9th.
August 9th? Probably is.
Yeah, I think that's
If
a
it's
general
just-
meeting.
Yeah,
Okay,
and so that's, and then after that meeting, we'll set another date for feedback from the draft that we've presented then twice. Well, no, that'll be the first presentation of the full draft. And then the feedback, the pushback that we get from that would be, we would present a second draft at the NCA members for NCA members review on September 17th. Depending on what we have to do then, we would then present that for a vote on October 11th. And then send to the county after the vote on October 11th. So we haven't published this. I wanted to check in with Lynn to make sure that from the minutes, she had the same information I did. She said that was correct, what I presented. And so that's where we are with the schedule. And we will be, I think we'll only publish through the 21st of June, because then we want to understand what kind of feedback we get at June 21. There'll probably be a meeting in July between the June 21st meeting and the August 9th meeting. So I just don't want to get ahead of ourselves scheduling things when we don't know what the information is that we get from the feedback. I'd like to, and there's a whole month there plus to schedule a meeting. So we'd like to get through the June 21st meeting before we schedule any interim meetings in July. So that's our thinking at this point. And Mark, you said you had some questions about it, or you have a
yeah, so
few
let me
questions.
go back to the schedule, Rand. I'm looking for your email that I think you sent it to me yesterday, maybe.
Yeah,
With that schedule you just went over, and I just want to make sure. In here.
yes,
I can't
it's
find the one that has the,
yesterday. Just
Maybe
says
this one.
yesterday. It doesn't give me a time.
okay. Okay, well, there was one that had all the, I can't find it. The dates you just went through, so that August 9th is a what, Rand? That
That's
That's
saw
our
it
membership
yesterday.
meeting.
That's a membership meeting that will,
Yeah,
our intention is to get these things, a draft to people a week ahead of time and have an email notice to say there is now a draft. The current updated draft of the community plan is available. Please click here and it'll link them right to the draft. And they can read that during that week theoretically. It's roughly 25 pages, so it's not too overwhelming.
yeah,
And it's very clear. So anyway, that would be the hope, is they would read it. So when they come to the meeting August 9th, we would have just a section of that meeting that is that we hear from people. We can, like, say we only have 20 minutes or 10 minutes or something, but it should be
okay.
I don't think you have a lot of other things going, because the bylaws and PP&Rs will be passed, and community plan will be kind of the only thing that's outstanding at that point, I think.
Never say that, Rand, that we'll never have much going. No, don't say that.
Okay.
It'll curse us.
Laney calls that a kaninahara. It's a
Yeah,
Yiddish term for, gee, we haven't had rain in a long time.
yeah, yeah.
But
Yeah. Okay, I got it. I understand it now. I did see it on your schedule, so I just wanted to clarify. Yeah.
okay, thank you.
So could I just ask, I
Sure.
was at that meeting and I thought you guys were gonna kind of try to take some of the summer off at least and present a little bit of an update at the membership meeting, but I thought you were gonna have more feedback session kinds of things where people could talk about things in more detail.
Well, we
Not
do
with the
have-
NCA, but with the NCAC, which this is about, right?
Right, so there's the whole month of July plus the last week in June and the first week in August that we can schedule more feedback meetings, but we're trying to get a sense on the June 21st meeting, how much feedback we
Right.
get. You know, we
Mhm.
don't know, you know, that was Lynn's big fear is no one's gonna pay attention because they're at weddings and they're doing summer stuff, and at the same
Right.
time, that's when everyone's here
People,
too,
people are
so.
exhausted that,
So
we're
anyway,
ready for a
we
break.
want to get a feeling before we start scheduling meetings in July from what kind of feedback we get as to how resolved this is and where points of that might be contentious might arise. So then we can schedule meetings in July for more feedback. And it is kind of it's a lighter schedule than we've been keeping, certainly, but we just, you never know until you present the draft as to what people will find is uh, comforting or disturbing, so.
So Rand, I did have a question. I was, um, I was thinking, I think you did on Sunday, correct me if I'm wrong. I think you did a survey with a straw poll. Is that correct, or was it just a straw poll? I can't,
It was, we handed out a paper and people had a chance
oh,
to mark those, yeah, and
okay.
then we collected them, so we collected 70, we printed 100 and we got back
Uh-huh.
73.
Okay. And I'm just wondering, um, and I think that was only in person.
That
Is
was
that
only
right?
in person, yeah, because it
So I get,
wasn't an NCAC meeting, it was an NCA meeting.
okay. So, okay, maybe here's my question then. Are NCAC members going to have the chance to take that survey? Because
We could resurrect it at,
because otherwise it was in now, and I know there's overlap. Otherwise, it was an NCA meeting,
right,
and maybe all 73 were NCAC members, but I guess what I'm thinking is that the general 700 person membership didn't have an opportunity to take that survey.
that's true. It was presented at a public meeting.
Right.
uh,
So it was
All in person.
I was thinking about it. It was an NCAC survey at an NCA meeting, but we haven't surveyed the NCAC membership, which I believe we should do.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, we can
I
do
mean,
this.
am I off base on that, or?
No, I think we just felt like we should take advantage of the opportunity to
Yeah,
have the biggest,
yeah,
they have 2 meetings a year. It's the biggest gathering that there is live in Nescoin. And
yeah.
we should take advantage of it. So it was kind of, I mean, it's not a binding vote of
Hmm.
any kind. It's
Hmm.
definitely see what happens when they have an opportunity to look at this stuff. And they had a few
Hmm.
minutes in the midst of the
Hmm.
meeting to read it, but not any in-depth, information
Hmm.
about it. Um,
Yeah,
we
I
could
think,
do it at
Rand,
one
that
of these other
information,
meetings too.
what's
We could
that? I,
we could do it at one of our other feedback sessions. We could provide it um, either ahead of time or I'm not exactly, or do
yeah,
the polling at the meeting, although then they're only reading it on the screen, which probably works.
right.
We could take the time to go through each one. Um, Anyway,
But
Yeah, I think,
can
I
I,
guess,
go
go
ahead,
ahead,
Tom.
Tom.
yeah, I'm not a member of the group, but I just want to say, I'm not sure what we're going to do with that survey.
Okay.
Because we're already, I mean, we didn't get any new information. And it was basically to take people's temperature on how they thought about
Hmm.
various topics, whether they're important, unimportant. Yeah, good if you can do it. I'm not sure how that translates into the document.
Okay.
It may have just been a PR move on my part to say, these are the issues that we're looking at in looking to the future. So you might want to participate in the community plan because these are all important things as
Right.
they indicated in their responses. And we have a better idea of what that was. If Tom was there, if you looked around, a lot of that was the old timers who were used to going
Yeah.
to these public meetings. So
Yeah.
it was a chance to get in front of them what some of the things that are in the community plan and looking out ahead. They're kind of their current issues, but they're also looking out ahead and going, are these important to you? Do you think we
Mhm.
could tackle these as a community? So it gets them a little closer to what's involved in the community plan, because I think we need to kind of pump it up a little bit, because some people have no idea they don't even know what the NCAC is. So it
Yeah.
was as much PR as it was information for the committee to gather from that group how they felt about it, and most of it was pretty positive feedback.
I don't disagree with any of that at all. I think I think I'm personally, I'm fine with that. I just think that, I mean, if we just look at numbers, you surveyed 10% of
Mhm,
the NCAC, if I could use that.
sure,
And I think we should survey more.
okay,
And I mean, that's just my opinion. And my straw poll, maybe not survey is the right word, but straw poll others that may not know anything about those either. I know I looked over the results of the survey and there were some, I looked at the numbers and things, and like Tom said, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what is going to be done with that information. However, just sort of procedurally, I think it's important for everybody to have a shot at seeing that.
mhm,
And if they want to weigh in on it, they can. If they don't want to, that's fine, but it wouldn't be for having the opportunity. They would have had the opportunity to do that.
right.
No?
So the question comes,
How
that's
do we do that? Then the next thing is, how do we do that? Right. But
right, and well,
yeah.
so I'll certainly bring that back to the subcommittee and indicate your um, preference for a greater audience for this, and um,
Well, I would say, Rand, that's my opinion. I'm not, I'm not gonna, I mean, there's others on the executive board. If the others have other opinions another way, then please feel free to share them.
I agree. I think, you know, if you guys were using a hybrid meeting or the owl or something where other people could be part of it, I think it would give more meaningful results maybe, but those of us who weren't in town
mhm,
weren't able to participate, right? They weren't even, the option wasn't there. They were interesting questions, but I think it also gets back to what was the goal, and if it's PR, that's great.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
let's get interest in the NCAC with the NCA. That would be
Yeah.
terrific. But in terms of something that would be useful for the document, we did put in a fair amount of effort into developing how you do a straw poll or how you do a survey that are in the policies and procedures, and it's complex to do it to get results that are going to be meaningful. And so we could perhaps
right,
help
I read
help
that,
with
but
some
I
of
didn't.
that.
Yeah.
You read
I
that, but
think,
what?
yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I read
So
it, but I didn't like go strictly by the book because it was kind of a seat of your pants kind of deal.
yeah,
Yeah.
so like for example, priorities might help. A lot of it's motherhood and apple pie. The information. It was interesting. The one thing people didn't seem to care about was having a community center up above the tsunami zone, but everything else, it was like
Yeah.
people either really wanted it or they sort of
Yeah.
wanted it, but very little that was said, no, I don't want it, and or it's not important at all. But how does it rank? If you've got limited resources, what would be most important? What would, I think there could be some things in a survey that could be written to find out what are the real priorities if in terms of the plan.
Hmm.
And I don't know, at some point, did you guys talk about doing an actual formal survey? I thought through the county, or do you think that's just not necessary at this point?
So a little late,
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
You guys are pretty well set.
please.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
Well,
a major one to take
yeah.
on that Chris and I
Yeah.
started 5 years ago and it never happened. So
Yeah.
we got
Okay.
kind of a bruised attitude about
Yeah.
surveys.
Got
Yeah.
it.
Been
Got
like
it.
2 years doing it and everyone, oh,
Yeah.
nobody's gonna look at that. It's too long.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
I do think that I think the questions were good as I was looking at them. And I think that I have to think that at some point, some of that information is going to be included in the community plan in some way.
Oh, yeah, it is.
And it's going to be prioritized. And so I just think we need more people to we'd like more people to weigh in on it. We should give more people the opportunity to do that.
Well, it will be in the community plan.
Yeah,
and
right,
They will
right,
be reviewing that and it
right.
may be one of the two subjects in the June 21st thing, since we
Okay,
did this and we
right.
have it in form, and then what, depending on how it appears in the community plan at that point, we can
Yeah,
focus on that in particular and go over and say, what, how do you see the future? And
yeah,
the other thing that comes up is things like the watershed, where they've already gotten $1 million through a big grant from the state. So things that might seem, oh, we'd never be able to do that, like the fire chief telling me to relocate the fire hall would be $6 to $8 million. And I'm like going, wow, is it like velvet and suede? I mean,
mhm,
how is that
yeah,
possible? I mean, it's a
yeah,
box. So anyway, he's, he elaborated on that I won't share with you, but
yeah,
things, uh, senators and representatives in Salem have been looking at rural areas where they have to redo their water systems and things. It's multi-million dollars and they don't
right,
have the population to support that. So the
right.
state is looking at different ways in rural areas to have infrastructure support. So, I think the most important thing is to understand the will of people rather than just, oh, we can't do that. I
Mhm.
think this is the time
Mhm,
to go, if we want this, let's think that way, that we can get this
mhm,
and not just throw it away because it seems impractical.
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Do you think it could
yeah,
add some value to ask people, based on the results of this survey or straw poll that you did, to take some of the things that seem to be the most popular and ask people to rank them in importance? Like could that be something? Because I know Sarah said in the past that the county will use this as
Yeah,
justification for expenditures, and even just having these things in the plan can help when time comes to be able to justify getting something. And
yeah,
would
no,
it help to, when you have the NCAC survey or straw poll, to have some ranking? I mean, part of that's tied, it gets complicated 'cause some of that gets tied to the cost of
yeah,
something, but
yeah,
like you said, you can get grants and
yeah,
yeah, it's not all asking them to pay for it.
yeah,
yeah.
But
yeah,
yeah, I mean, I wrote down, rank these. Let's see how we can
yeah,
work it. And
And then how do you
Gary and
tabulate it,
Tom are like
ranking?
going, what are you getting us into here?
yeah,
But we will see I mean, we have our own work to do to understand what we want to present as the priorities for the first meeting. But I suspect this is going to be part of that, and we can just figure out what we can do at that meeting because it's just for us to do. So we could do some kind of polling and
mhm,
understand the priorities would be very
mhm.
helpful. And I mean,
Okay,
I'm not sure the county's going to count on the prioritization. It may be safer to put everything in there and not prioritize it. Just say, these are all things that the community cares about. And then when you go to get a grant, you can say it was indicated in the plan that people
right,
approved. So
right,
Mhm.
sometimes it's
okay,
better to leave it with less information. But we'll see how we can engineer that for the meeting. We have
yeah,
more than a month we have around a month to do it.
yeah,
For it.
One thing that was, if I can just interject,
Sure.
mhm,
because as a result of the presentations on the NCAC information, the thing that I was buttonholed several times, I think about 3 different people came up, and they were interested more in middle housing. We didn't seem to get any hot buttons on
Yeah.
anything that's going to actually be in the community plan, because that
Oh,
doesn't.
yeah.
Because that's
Yeah.
going to be done and dusted. It won't be in the plan because that's already done.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the giant distraction. It's the elephant in the room for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are
Yeah.
there going to be any further meetings on middle housing or any more votes on that? Like Oceanside just had this long series of votes on
we-
middle housing.
They're gonna have hearings soon. This.
Yeah, the hearings will
Yeah.
be at the county and it's
Yeah.
actually out of our hands at this point.
Yeah.
Be the NCAC would be is the arbiter now, and so encouraging people to go to the hearings if they have ideas, that will be the forum now.
Yeah.
So we're
to-
not going to be issuing a further report besides what
No,
was
and
issued in
Guy
last month.
pointed out how disturbing it is that Oceanside is going ahead and saying we're going to take on some Measure 56 issues because this is how we feel. And
Right.
Sarah talked us out of that. So he's scratching his, and he wasn't at that meeting of all the meetings for him to not be there. Sarah explained everything and
Mhm.
he probably wouldn't have been happy with it. Or
Yeah.
he is still not happy about it.
Yeah. There's so much going on with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll just share just the one, and Rand, you know this, I'm sure already, but we're not having CAC chair meetings through the summer. I don't think Sarah's going to be. She'll meet with us individually if we want to meet with her, but I think Candace asked the question last time, when's the STR cap issue going to come up? And I think she thought maybe early fall, and Sarah said it won't be until late fall, maybe even the start of 26. So looks like that one's fallen down the list of priorities for the county for a while. So we won't have to deal with that one, at least in sort of September, October.
There are reasons to be grateful.
You
Oh.
guys may want to be disbanded by then.
One is hoping for
Yeah.
that. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that does raise the question, if I can interject again.
Yeah.
It's likely that the county isn't going to get to us till after the STRs in terms of approving or disapproving the plan.
Right.
Oh,
So
yeah.
what happens to the group? Are we in limbo? Are you going to put us on ice or what?
Yeah, that's a good question. So once I will have to think about that one, Tom.
I hate when I come up with good questions.
Well, I would say, I mean, both committees have just done wonderful work. It's really complicated in both areas. The bylaws is sort of through the heavy waves now, and I think that the community plan committee's in pretty deep seas right now. So still, but you're just doing great work, and there's so many questions that come up about it, and so I speaking for me, I'd hate to lose your expertise, and so I'd like to keep you on hold somehow if we need to reconvene you and that pops up, the community plan pops up,
Well,
sort of
hopefully
months
there's
after
enough,
you've submitted it.
hopefully there's
wonder-
enough pride in authorship that we don't want to see somebody hijack it. So
Yeah.
I wonder if we should be setting something like this up next year, but as a what's the word? Not ad hoc, a standing
Right.
subcommittee to handle these things as they come up. Because, okay, you'll be done with the community plan, but something else like middle housing might come up, or FEMA might come up, or STR might come up. And if you have a standing subcommittee, then, that are elected each year, then they can handle these things. I don't know, just a thought that occurred to me as you're talking about the timing based on your question, Tom. I kind of
Yeah.
wonder if it is
Right.
something where there'll be things on a continuing basis. It might not be a community plan, and you may want to just call it something else, but something
Someday
to
I
think
may
about.
learn to keep my mouth shut. I don't know.
Yeah, anyway, just something to think about for maybe
Yeah.
next year. Maybe you won't be done, Ran.
So
Okay.
golf and
Yeah.
fly fishing on the Metolius were coming
Yeah.
in the future.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's pretty nice. Yeah. Okay, Rand. Well, just, yeah, we'll maybe think a little bit about, the trying to capture more,
Sure.
more member, more folks on that. But, okay, outreach task force. I will say this, Susan's gone, but, I was contacted by Lynn Wintermute, 2 days ago or maybe yesterday. And I think I don't, was it Hot Creek Hills? I can't remember which area neighborhood she said.
Lynn is Hawk Creek
In,
Hills.
yep, okay. So Hot Creek Hills, she said she'd be the rep for the Hot Creek Hills, and I've got to get back to her on that. I wanted to kind of check in with Susan, and I can email Susan about that.
I
Apparently
know
Lynn,
Susan
go ahead.
I know Susan had approached her, so we
Yeah.
could go ahead and make a motion to approve her if you wanted to appoint her.
Okay. Well, here's the interesting thing for Lynn. She wrote me an email and she said, "Hi, Mark. I'd like to represent the Hot Creek Hills." She said, and Rand, you may know this more than I or Chris, or maybe Tom, but she owns property there, and they sold their house, and they're having another house. I guess she said a retirement home built next to that one, or on another
Yeah.
lot they own.
Adjacent to it.
Adjacent. And she said they've moved to, I thought she said maybe Pacific City or
No, she's moved to Lincoln City in a
Lincoln
house
City.
that is perpetually tilted like this, and
Okay.
Barry bounces around in it.
Okay. So she's moved out of the area, but will represent the Hot Creek Hills. And I mean,
Well,
I'm
her
fine with
house is
that. So
under construction, yeah.
She
her,
owns property.
yeah,
So
she
she's
does
a
own
member.
property. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, we can just approve Lynn for that today, I think.
Yeah,
Okay.
unless anybody has any objections,
No,
I
she'd
think it'd be great.
Yeah,
I move that we approve that we appoint Lynn Winterboot to the outreach task force representing the Hawk
Yeah, Hot Creek
Creek Hills.
Hills.
Creek Hills area.
All right, I second that.
Okay, discussion. No discussion, so just a voice vote. So yes, and
Yes. from
everybody.
the rest.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. I'll let Lynn know and thank her for being willing to volunteer. Okay, future meeting discussion. I'm just thinking of the meetings that we have coming up. So there's a couple of bylaws this week. Rand, you've got yours going on Mondays through June. But
Well,
or no,
actually, no, we're saying June 9th, it will be our next meeting. That's a 2. We're not meeting on the 2nd. We're just
oh, you're not. Okay.
providing our edits to Tom.
Okay.
So it's a content time for us to go through and pose what we believe will be valuable information for each point, and then he's going to integrate those, and we'll meet on June 9th.
Okay. Okay. So there
That's
is
on
one
that
on the
schedule
event
I sent
page,
you.
so we'll have to take that one off then. It says June 2nd, Community Plan Steering Subcommittee meeting on June 2nd on the event page. So we'll have to remove that one.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay.
And I will send this to Gary. I wanted to get the committee members to all say, yes, that's what we agreed to before I send it to Gary and have them tell me, I don't remember.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. The meeting let's talk a little bit about the meeting on the membership meeting on the 14th. So we're gonna have a vote for bylaws, subcommittee members.
And hopefully
Go
for secretary,
ahead.
hopefully
And
for
hopefully for
secretary.
secretary.
I think we
Okay.
should put it on the agenda.
Yep, okay. Let me
Yeah.
get this down. So, bylaws, secretary. We're gonna have, the usual, notices from Tillamook County. Well, the usual kind of, I just call top of the agenda stuff. I'll do an executive board summary for the last couple of, for the executive boards we've had since our last general membership meeting.
Mark, do we want to
Mhm.
approve the budget?
Yeah. Yes, we do, Chris.
Yeah, that.
And you'll have like an end of year report, Chris, too.
I
Treasurer's
already,
report.
already sent it to Mark
Great.
about an hour ago.
Oh, well, oh, okay. I haven't seen it, Chris, so thanks.
No worries.
Okay. Okay. Approved budget, okay. We'll have committee reports for bylaws and community plan. Outreach.
Oh, if worst
Go
case,
ahead,
we don't
Nancy.
get a
Yeah.
quorum. Sorry,
Yeah.
if worst case, we don't get a quorum on the 31st, then I would want to be able to bring it up at the general meeting, but hopefully we'll know Saturday, which is still within the time limit for the agenda. But we will have a quorum, right? 15 people.
15, yeah, on Saturday.
You're muted,
Oh.
Rand.
It's 3/4 away through the Champions League final, so I hope
Oh.
people are double functioning so they can watch both.
Yeah,
Um,
yay.
My team's not in it, so I'm not as attached as I might.
How many notices? Executive board report. Okay. Anything else? I think I've got 3 committees, a treasurer's report, budget. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm wondering if there's something that could attract people by having somebody come in and talking about emergency preparedness or the tsunami stuff that's in the news these days. It's suddenly more in the news than it has been. Maybe somebody from the county to come in and talk about what could be done, or the geology involved, or I don't know. That might be something that would grab people.
Mhm.
Well, the expert is Peter Ruggiero, who came and did the big study here, the erosion study and all that stuff. Guy and I know him pretty well. He might be willing to come talk, but it would be, he's talking about the new subduction
Right.
thing where
Yeah.
our area is due to drop 4 feet in a moment's action. So that's the
Yeah.
latest update that's pretty disturbing. But I don't
Yeah.
know if you want to hear it straight from the researcher or ask what the county's, I don't know what the county can do about something like that, but
Yeah.
Maybe we could have a longer meeting in August. Well, except your guys will have a community plan in August. I don't know.
I think, yeah, okay. I think I'd like to put that later. I don't know, Nancy. I'm hoping that we get 15 as well.
15.
But we might need a placeholder on the agenda for the general membership meeting on the 14th. We'll see.
Okay.
So I think it might be wise to try and do that.
Are you guys
So-
all going to be able to attend on Saturday?
Yeah, I'm gonna attend.
Great, great. I'm hoping we can keep it really tight and short, but you never know till I thought it would be fairly short last year. And was not.
Laney might not, she's usually at the end of the farmer's market, but she might be home
Okay,
by the time it comes for a vote and everything.
Okay.
And my
Thank you.
neighbors, Aaron and Joe, I could probably rope into coming over here to be a
Okay.
part of the meeting.
thank you.
Yeah, and Carrie, I don't know what she's gonna be doing, but we'll see if I can get her here.
Yeah, my
Okay,
husband is recruited. He's never attended a meeting. He's recruited. He'll be a body. And I think Tom and 3 others. So
good.
um,
Okay,
yeah,
well,
I
we're
appreciate it.
crossing our fingers for the 31st.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get the agenda for the 14th out. I need to get that out by Saturday. So get that posted. And let's see, I think for today, I think that's it for today. Public comment.
So I do have
Go
one
ahead. Yeah.
item. I have been talking to Candace about the secretary position, and we've had a couple of chats. And she hasn't said no. She hasn't said yes. I have promised her that I will help her. I told her that Gary has said he would help with certain things. I hope that's okay, Gary, but you had indicated you'd be happy to help with certain things. I said, because it's a lot of work, but that's why we set up the communications task force. And there were a couple of people that had volunteered to help with website things. I can be a backup on minutes. I can be trained on website things, and a lot of it's the tedium that Gary's talked about.
Yeah.
So she's thinking about it, and we'll see. But if anyone has a chance to talk to her, she told me I could tell people in the meeting today. So,
Okay.
so please, I think she'd be terrific. And she's very busy with other things too, so she was concerned about having too much. But I'm going to
Yeah.
have less, and I'm happy to be in the background. So if anyone else knows someone who could be a member of the communications task force to kind of help her out, I think she'd be more readily willing to do it.
hmm
So I don't know if anyone else has come forward, but I'm guessing not.
I haven't heard from anybody. All right. Okay, Nancy. Well, we'll hope for the best there. Okay, I think that's it for today, unless anybody has any other comments. No?
No, none from me.
Okay, all right. Well, that's it. We'll adjourn the meeting at 4:34 p.m. and thank everybody for joining, and see you on Saturday.
Thank you.
all right.
Thank you.
Thanks for your input. Bye-bye.
Sounds good.